Hi, I'm Eleanor with the coming week's Soap Spectaculars. Masood's anxiety about Zainab and Yusuf is about to redline, especially when he hears he and Denise are not as close as she's making out. Perhaps Maz should be worried because Zainab visits the Imam to discuss the revelation that Yusuf tried to save her from the fire, not leave her there. Maz, paranoid, puts Zainab on the spot and asks her if she would still choose him over Yusuf. Her silence speaks volumes. Things turn worse for Maz when Yusuf learns he cheated with Jane, and later he nearly punches Yusuf when he winds him up about Zainab. Jack's appalled and full of self-loathing when he comes to with Rainey and throws her out of his place. Max taunts him about his conquest and he loses his rag and attacks Max, although Carol manages to get them to make up in time for Max's birthday. But Jack's in a bad way, and Roxy beseeches Ronnie to relent and at least try to get bail, if not for her, for Jack. Ian and Jane are still going at each other, so Alfie and Christian organise a mediation session. No prizes for guessing how that goes. But it's not all bad for Ian. Alfie asks him to be godfather to Tommy. You sure about that? On to Corrie next. Just when Tracy thinks she's got Steve right where she wants him, the rat goes and plans a trip with his wife. How despicable is that? Later, Steve is reluctantly forced to leave Max with Kylie and David when Amy falls ill and urgently needs A&E. And David soon bonds with the lad. Becky, of course, is seething, though she maintains some decorum when Amy gets sick again and is diagnosed with a milk allergy. She feels sidelined when Steve and Tracy unite in concern for Amy. But David grows ever closer to Max, and while Steve spends time with an ill Amy, David asks Gail about how Kylie can get access to her son. Trust me, David, you don't want to open that can of worms. Not unless you're after a storyline that can play out for 6 months or so. Ches, meanwhile, is alarmed that Fizz is going back to work and leaving John to look after Hope. Ches knows John was up to something with Charlotte and turns detective by arriving at the Hoyles, claiming to be Colin's younger brother. Cunning. He's bang on the money, of course, when he learns Colin, aka John, was engaged to Charlotte and turned off her life support. I suspect this storyline is going to bite John somewhere painful, and soon. Finally, we're in Emmerdale. Well done, Hazel and Aaron, for thinking a near-death experience will perk up Jackson. But while the skydive does boost him initially, he's soon back to his morose ways. Aaron has reached his limit and grabs his rail ticket and leaves. But Hazel makes a big decision, then gives Aaron the verbals for upsetting Jackson. She tells him they'll never be able to force him into thinking something he doesn't believe. So Aaron takes a big step. He calls social services. Meanwhile, Victoria still believes Amy's version of events, especially when she hears David leave a message for her to call him. Val and Pollard speak to the social worker, who tells them David will have to be questioned by police if Amy persists with her accusation. Poor David is bewildered. All he's done is be a friend to the girl, and now the village thinks he's a villain. Farmer John, meanwhile, is forced into taking on an investor. Guess who? Yep, it's Declan himself, who tells him he'll invest in exchange for 20% of the business. And that's one dragon's offer John can't refuse.